Good afternoon. Welcome to northern Wyoming. I'm in Gillette, Wyoming, the northeast section, and man, am I exhausted right now. I'll tell you why I'm here in just a minute. Some of you may be able to guess, but not without more context. But I got here yesterday, drove up from southern Wyoming, and I wasn't really expecting. Well, I don't know. You tell me if this is a coincidence or not. Well, first off, this is one of these places where it feels like one of those flyover towns or drive through towns. Like if you're on a road trip and you just need to stop for gas or groceries or something, and it's like, oh, there's a town here. Let's stop for groceries. But the population is 33,000, and as I was driving in, I'm here for 2 days, and I was like, yeah, it feels like a flyover. Flyover. I say flyover because I don't know who came up with the term, but um, you think of like flyover states like Kansas, Great Plains. It's just like you just fly over them to get to the next city, that kind of thing. Um, but there are people that actually live here, and that's the thing that's been like on my mind. There are people that actually have a home here, they live here, they go to school here, they work here. It's like people actually live here. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just a perspective shift. And so I went to Albertson's grocery store yesterday. It's kind of like a Safeway. And I was just buying a couple things and get to the little self checkout area. And one of the store employee women working there, I could hear her from multiple aisles away. Someone would come up, hey, welcome, welcome. I'll have a great day. And I got up there and she's like, hey, welcome. Grab a lane. And I check out and she's like, thank you, have an amazing day. And I walk out with a smile on my face and I'm like, that wasn't expected. And then this morning I go to this coffee shop just for a quick hit coffee to wake up and sit somewhere for a couple minutes. And I walk in and it's one of these like chain. It's like a Starbucks where it's like a chain. It's not like a single independently owned local coffee shop. It's like it's called City Brew Coffee. There are multiple locations, whatever. Um, and walk in, and there's a girl working behind the counter, and she's like, "Hey, what can I get started for you?" And I was like, "Oh, just have an espresso." Or before that, she was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?" And she's like, "Living the dream." And I was like, "That's amazing." And that just that I'm not sure I've I'm trying to think. I'm not sure I've ever had someone respond in that or say that as a response. And maybe this is bias the right word? I just how do I walk this line? Look, I didn't grow up in a small town in northeast Wyoming. I didn't grow up in a small town really anywhere. I grew up in the northeast, very well populated. And so I don't, I don't know what I'm trying to say here because I don't want to be, I don't want to sound rude or mean. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But it's like I've never known what life is like in a small town. I guess my perspective that I'm trying to get at is I just don't really have much interest in the lifestyle of living in a small town. And so with that context, just having someone respond to the question of oh, how are you, of living the dream. It's like that is amazing. And that just like you go to the grocery store and then you layer on this coffee shop example, and then finally the reason why I'm here, if you've been following along, maybe you would have guessed this, but I am here for a motorcycle safety course. This time it is the right type of course or part of the right organization that I can use to get my endorsement on my license. This one is much cheaper, and yeah, it's kind of randomly in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, it worked out. So I go to this course this morning, and um, nothing out of the ordinary, I would say. Everyone there is fairly friendly. But we get to lunch, and see the last course that I took in just outside Denver, everyone was kind of on their own for lunch. Like you either brought your lunch or like you had like 45 minutes to like go out to the nearest Chipotle or like whatever, grab something. Um, but this course is at a Harley Davidson dealership. Like in their back, they have a big parking lot and the cones and the spray painted lines and whatever, and like the Motorcycle Safety Foundation employees, the people that work for the course have access and they know the people at the Harley Davidson, whatever. And we get to lunchtime and they're like, oh, uh, I think the Harley Davidson bought pizza and made homemade cookies for everyone. So like lunch is on us, and well, it's not on the MSF Foundation, it's on the Harley Davidson dealership. And so we walk in and they got like 6 Domino's pizzas of varying toppings, and these two women are in the kitchen, and one's like opening the oven for like fresh baked warm cookies, and I'm like, what is going on right now? I was expecting to come to Gillette, Wyoming, some small town, and just have it be like, you know, it looks exactly well. For those that have road tripped in the U.S., you know exactly what this town looks like. It's got a main road with a whole bunch of stuff. I haven't been to downtown. It does have this beautiful park though, little like river pond lake thing running through the middle, and a whole bunch of playgrounds and stuff. And yeah, I wasn't really. I was expecting to have a kind of neutral experience. And so, I don't know, you tell me, is this a coincidence? I come to this small town and have, I would say, 3 back to back positive experiences. And I don't know what the implications of that are, but I did want to share that as an experience. And yeah, like I could sit here and say like, oh, therefore the people in small towns are nicer and more positive than the people in city. Like it's hard to say that as a generalization. Um, Maybe you could believe me. Is it true though? I don't know. But it's just nice to have a kind of perspective shift. I think that's what I wanted to share. Was coming in with just neutral expectations and having the actual experience be like, wow, the people here are actually nice, and and that's a nice feeling. So anyway, day one of motorcycle course number 2 done. Tomorrow is day of 2 of the second course, and the skills evaluation at the end, which hopefully I should pass. Um, and yeah, it's been fun. The skills are coming back, and I feel like I'm getting the hang of things, and getting positive feedback from the coaches, and yeah. Oh, the other thing I was I hadn't quite really formulated what I wanted to say about this, but um, the other people in this course, um, one it was like one person's from Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is in the south, just north of Denver on the border. Um, Someone else is from Gillette. Someone moved from California to Gillette. Um, Someone else was like an hour away from here. Um, Basically, just a whole bunch of people from Wyoming. And it was kind of funny as we were going around the introductions. Um, it was like, oh yeah, I'm from whatever, whatever, Wyoming. Oh, I'm from Gillette, Wyoming. It's like, hey, I'm Peter. I'm from Boston. It's like, what? Huh? Um, and interestingly enough, for those that had watched my videos from the previous course, you may remember I talked about expecting to get questions about my van and the fact that I had South Dakota plates and a literal van showing up to the course, and nobody said anything. Well, this one, one of the coaches was like, "Oh, well, what brought you out here?" Um, or what brought you out here from South Dakota, basically, because my plates are or my address is South Dakota, and I was like, I can't really get around this one, so like, oh, well, let me explain. I live in that van over there. Um, and one of the other coaches, who I don't think heard that conversation. Later, I was like walking back from the bathroom, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Yo, how long have you been doing that? Been living in the van?" And I was like, "Oh, just over 2 years." And he's like, I like so want to do that." I was like, "Oh, you should rent one." And it's like, "Oh, it's so great. I was just in southern Wyoming the other day." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, like I've always wanted to do that." And I was like, "Oh, this is a better experience than I was expecting." And yeah, just at lunch, chatting with the other guys there. I don't know. It was just, I guess, again, to maybe share my vulnerability. I How do I say this without sounding rude? I don't really know how to do this without. So I'm glad that I'm 14 minutes into this video when I'm sharing this. Um, Kind of on the similar topic of just not not having experienced living in a small town and not really having much interest in doing so, just for whatever reason. Um, I don't know. Where's this coming from? I get this I get this sense that maybe this is not my thought. I get this sense that like there's this general sense of people in small town USA, like farmland. Um, Maybe it's political. Maybe that's where it's coming from. Like red states, um, that the people are like the enemy, you know? And this experience of the three things, the grocery store person, the coffee shop, and the dealership buying pizza and lunch for us, plus just having conversations with the other people taking the course at lunch. One guy's in the military down in Cheyenne. Another guy works as a correction officer. Um, Used to work on a oil refinery place, and another guy was in. I think he's like just graduated high school or something, and spent a lot of time at his grandparents' farm, and like would ride dirt bikes, and that's why he's getting his motorcycle license with them. Um, it's just like refreshing to just talk to people and see them as other just human beings, like sharing this life, living in the same country. I don't know. I think that's the like perspective shift that I wanted to share. And maybe not, it's not that I'm fundamentally changing my perspective, but just having these experiences like shifts my perspective just a little bit, because it was like I kind of went in with these expectations, and then all of a sudden they kind of weren't that, and they were better. And it was like it's just normal people. Like these are great people, super friendly people, um, and it's fascinating that people live and spend all of their time out here and are happy to do so. So anyway, I'll call it there. Um, yeah, who knew? Wyoming. I'll see you tomorrow.